For this video, I'm going to be ranking the best roller coasters at the Walt Disney Parks in Florida from worst to first. Okay, so the purpose of this video is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to give you my picks of what are the best roller coasters at the Walt Disney theme parks in Florida. Now, keep in mind, some of these picks involve speculation for rides that haven't been completed, as well as rides that kind of stretch the term roller coaster. So I'm sure one of these picks is going to trigger some people. So let's get started. Number 9, the Barnstormer at Magic Kingdom. Alright, so I bet you this one was predictable. If you look at TripAdvisor or the other, tourism sites, this is a universally hated roller coaster. This one is always one of the lowest rated. It's the shortest ride at any of the Disney parks, to my knowledge. It doesn't even last a minute. This just isn't a Disney caliber ride. It's a standard Vekoma roller skater with very little theming. And this is something you would expect to see at a cheap amusement park, not Walt Disney World or Resort, so it's really out of place here. I realize this roller coaster is just mostly intended for little kids, but at the end of the day, this is barely a Six Flags experience, much less a Disney experience, so this is not worth any kind of wait if there's a line. Number 8, the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at Magic Kingdom. Apparently some Walt Disney World executive felt that Walt Disney World needed 2 mine train roller coasters. Yeah, it's that pointless. This is basically Thunder Mountain, but the cars rock. Seriously, that's the whole gag. I mean, it's got some pretty neat special effects for animatronics, and it is well themed. But at the end of the day, this is such a pointless addition to the park. It's newer and it rides a little smoother than the original Thunder Mountain, which is pushing 40 years old. It would be one thing if Thunder Mountain was too intense for kids, but it's not. I mean, the drops are barely 20 feet high. So adding another mine train roller coaster with drops that are about 20-25 feet high, it's so dumb. I don't know why they spent the millions and millions of dollars building this thing when there would have been so many other obvious opportunities for a roller coaster in Fantasyland. They could have taken the Matterhorn idea from Disneyland, adapted it to Frozen, and built it here, and it would have been a hell of a lot less repetitive. Instead, we get this recycled nonsense. Number 7, Test Track at Epcot. Is this really a roller coaster? I don't know. It's got wheels and it's on a track. That's good enough for me, I guess. Epcot is getting like a real roller coaster. It's currently under construction as Guardians of the Galaxy, but nobody has any idea what the ride layout is going to be or what the theming is like, we have no idea. So it's kind of hard to rate something like that. So I'm just going to stick with Test Track because I really feel like this does represent the thrills of a roller coaster, and it is technically the fastest ride at Walt Disney World. So those are the reasons I picked it. This thing does top 65 miles an hour, which is fast for a Disney ride. While it doesn't really have any drops like a roller coaster, it still pulls a lot of G-forces in the corners. So I'm going to give this the honorary roller coaster award, and that's why it became the number 7 pick. Number 6, Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom. Okay, so this is the first of the dark rides. I decided to use video footage of these rides with the lights on so you could see the actual roller coaster. This is the historic roller coaster at Magic Kingdom. This was the first roller coaster they built. They built it in the mid-1970s, and it still offers a lot of thrills. When they hold the full special effects and space theme going with the music and the sound effects, it is really immersive. And for a ride that dates back to the early 1970s, they've kept this updated, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. Even if there's an hour wait for this one, I still think it's worth riding, even if you're just riding it for nostalgia. What I find interesting about this ride too is the 1970s train design. They have some of the most comfortable padding I've ever experienced on a roller coaster, and the restraints are really good, so I find this one really comfortable, although some people have complained that they've been uncomfortable, but I guess that's for the taller people. I'm about 5'9", and these trains fit me perfectly, so I love this one. I go on it all the time. Number 5, Big Thunder Mountain at Magic Kingdom. The Magic Kingdom has so many rides and shows that it probably takes 2 to 3 days to experience them all. If you only have a single day at Magic Kingdom, it's entirely pointless to ride the 7 Dwarf trains and Thunder Mountain. They are, for all intents and purposes, an identical experience. One of them has Snow White, the other one doesn't. And in my opinion, Thunder Mountain has the better track layout. Thunder Mountain has the better cornering, comparable drops. They both drop about the same height, and they both travel at similar speeds. And personally, I think the mountain looks better on Thunder Mountain, so overall, this is just a better ride. Considering this one was built in 1980, and 7 Dwarfs was built in 2014, that's pretty embarrassing. Considering its vintage, this ride holds up really well. So even if you have to wait in line for 45 minutes to an hour, this is still worth it. Number 4, Slinky Dog Dash at Hollywood Studios. Recently, Disney has been pumping a lot of money into Hollywood Studios. Billions of dollars between the Toy Story Land and Star Wars Land, and I gotta tell you, they have done an amazing job out there. The Slinky Dog Dash is a launch coaster, but it's very tame. It's definitely intended for families. It's still a fun little ride, and it's based on the same roller coaster technology used at Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens, although that one runs about twice as fast. This particular roller coaster really has revitalized Hollywood Studios. It was kind of a dying theme park. You know, the last 10 years have not been kind to that park, with a lot of closed attractions like the Backlot Tour, the Car Stunt Show, and a great movie ride. This ride has kind of kept the park alive, and now with Galaxy's Edge open, the park really has come back. This is a really smooth and long coaster. It's one of the longer duration coasters that you're going to experience at the Florida parks, and it's definitely well worth the line. Now keep in mind, the line on this thing does get ridiculous. So I've seen 2 to 3 hour waits for Slinky Dog Dash on some busy days. Do I think it's worth a 3 hour wait? Probably not, but if you're waiting anything less than 75 minutes, then it's still worth the ride. Number 3, Tron Light Cycle Run at Magic Kingdom. Okay, so this pick is probably going to trigger some people. This roller coaster isn't even open yet. But in my defense, we know it's going to be an exact clone of the Tron Light Cycle Run roller coaster that has already been open for several years in Disneyland Shanghai. As a result of that, we know this coaster is freaking awesome. Amazing visual effects, great launch, lots of good speed, smooth ride, pretty cool looking train cars. This is the whole package. Space Mountain, when it opened in the mid-1970s, was groundbreaking. And this really does take that type of dark ride to the next level. This is just such an amazing roller coaster. You have to experience this in person. The videos don't do it justice. Even if there's a long line, and there probably will be for the first couple of years, you gotta try this at least once. Number 2, Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom. Well, you know how Hollywood Studios was kind of neglected for the last 10 to 15 years? Well, Animal Kingdom is starting to get that way. Disney just scrapped the other roller coaster at this park, Primeval Whirl. This is pretty much the only thrill ride in the entire park. I don't consider Flight of Passage a thrill ride. This is the tallest roller coaster Disney has ever built. It's got the tallest drop of any roller coaster they've ever built. It's a very awesome roller coaster and can intimidate the little kids. When they were building this thing, it definitely was kind of intended for adult audiences. It has so much more speed than the other Disney roller coasters. The scene with the Yeti is way too intense for younger audiences. But the biggest problem with this roller coaster is it's at the park that's barely a half-day attraction now. They just scrapped 2 shows and 1 ride. Thankfully, this week, Disney restored park hopping, so now I can confidently recommend this ride, because Animal Kingdom really isn't a full-day attraction in my view. However, if you combine Animal Kingdom with Magic Kingdom now, or Hollywood Studios, you're going to get a lot of great rides on roller coasters. Number 1, Rock and Roller Coaster at Hollywood Studios. Okay, so even though the theming is getting kind of dated on this one, it's still an amazing coaster, and it is the most intense ever built on Disney property. This thing has an LSM launch. It hits a top speed of 57 miles an hour. It has 3 inversions and pulls up to 5 Gs. That's crazy for an indoor coaster. It's really, really good. with a ride time about 90 seconds. It's quite long for indoor coasters. I mean, the track length is 3,400 feet, which there's a lot of outdoor coasters that aren't that long. If you're getting bored of all the junior coasters that are at most of the Disney parks, then this is that one adult coaster that really pushes the envelope. And even though this ride is around 25 years old, it still has some of the longest lines at Hollywood Studios. The ride itself held up incredibly well, even if the theming is a little dated. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe.